So I really appreciate everyone coming tonight on the 1-year anniversary of our Skyline Zen community. We have the largest crowd we've ever had, which is super cool. The koan tonight, ironically, is case 33 from the Mumonkan, and it is titled, No Mind, No Buddha. So after a year of doing Buddhist things, we're going to talk about no mind, no Buddha. A monk once asked Baso, what is Buddha? Baso answered, no mind, no Buddha. So, what's up? Yeah, that's it, we're done. No, very good. How generous Baso is in giving that answer. So, obviously, we come to a place, there are robes, there are cushions, there are bells, there's a Buddha on the altar. We all received instruction tonight on how to work with our mind. So what in the world is going on here? No mind, no Buddha, right? So what we're aiming at here is that when you ask, what is Buddha? The monk is asking for an answer, for a fixed thing, right? But the Buddha is your own self-nature, right? The Buddha nature is the nature of no fixed thing. Right? No thing can be said to have any fixed permanent characteristic. And so no Buddha, no mind, means that there is no specific and particular version of you, your mind, that is the right one. And there is no particular and specific version of the Buddha, of the spiritual path, that is the right one. And that is a way of experiencing freedom because it gives the freedom to respond to the context that presents itself. No mind, no Buddha. And we can look around the world and we can see where various spiritual paths, various spiritual teachings are applied irrespective of context to create tremendous amounts of suffering. When the Buddha was enlightened, the first teaching is the noble truths, and the first noble truth is that all life contains suffering. And so one of the things we seek to do, even though we know that suffering comes, is to minimize it, to limit it, to have awareness and to limit the suffering that we create. And a lot of the suffering we create is the suffering we create in our own mind for ourselves. So no mind. This is why I wanted to talk about this koan tonight, is something that's been emergent. It's interesting. I kind of work in the world of helping, and I have, as you might imagine, a number of peers who I've come up through various schools with, or who I've known in various spiritual circles, and all of us are sort of pushing 50. And if I go and ask, what are you up to? How's it going? We're all getting asked to give these various presentations on something approximating how do I be less stressed? Or how do I achieve work-life balance? Or how do I, something like that. I have a sort of disturbing answer for the work-life balance thing, which is that there's no such thing, right? And the reason there's no such thing is because life doesn't come in balance, right? Life just comes. So sometimes at work, work must be the priority, right? If I'm a heart surgeon and someone's having a heart attack, I have to go to work right now, right? There's no balance, right? Work must take priority. Other times, this past November, my mother-in-law quite suddenly became very ill and passed away, and work took a back seat. I was like, I don't care if you fire me, I'm not coming. I gotta go take care of my family, right? So what is balance, right? This is where no mind comes in, right? No fixed position. We find balance by working skillfully directly with what is. Right? The mind seeks a tactic always to have, this is the answer. And we sit around revising, at least I do, right? I'll just revise my life plan. Maybe if I do it this way, right? And we're all cursed with 20/20 hindsight, and so we can look back at all the things we should have done, and then we can use that as a way to try to invent the new answer that's going to be the way through. And maybe it will. I'm not saying you shouldn't have plans or goals, right? Or think ahead, right? No mind doesn't mean be stupid, right? It doesn't mean that if you're self-employed, you don't save some of the money for taxes. But what it does mean is that you don't really know. The most intimate we can be with reality is that we don't actually know exactly what's going to happen. And that being the case, we can return to no mind, right? And that no mind, that present moment, contains the entire universe. And it's also the key to stopping the torture of our mind against ourselves. Because you can't watch your torturous thoughts and be tortured by them at the same time. What you can do is have compassion for them, right? I am the way I am because of cause and effect, right? Because of, there's something called dependent co-arising, right? Everything that arises because of other things arising with it, right? Think about any student of history, right? Like if you want to understand American history, you have to start with cave paintings. My point is, how far back do you go before you stop the chain of cause and effect? Well, it goes back forever. And that being the case, we can have compassion for ourselves, right? For the version of ourselves that we show up as. And we can have compassion for others. Like when others show up in forms that we don't like, that doesn't mean we don't have a boundary, right? It doesn't mean we don't act with compassion, but also sanity and safety, emotional safety, physical safety. But even as we do that, we can look to the other with compassion and say, well, the version of you that you're showing is no more a fixed version of you than the version of me is a fixed version. So there's no mind, right? There's no fixed mind. You allow what comes up to come up. You accept it. If there's feelings with it, we can feel those feelings. If there's insights, we can embrace those insights. We let it go. Come back to the present moment. No Buddha, right? No ideal, enlightened version of ourselves. Just this right here. That's it. You already have it, right? If I tell you as a spiritual teacher that I have something to give you that you don't already have, then I've already let you down. You already have it. You already have the enlightened nature. You already have enlightenment, full enlightenment, not like a downgraded version that I'm going to help you upgrade, right? No. I'm the finger pointing at the moon. Look at the moon. Don't look at me. No ideal version of you. No ideal version of anyone else. Just what is. That's the beginning of working skillfully with what is. So then Mumonkan gives us a poem. If you meet a swordsman in the street, give him a sword. Unless you meet a poet, do not offer a poem. In talking to people, tell them 3/4 only. Never let them have the other part. So if you meet a swordsman, right? If you meet a swordsman, give them a sword. If you meet a guitarist, give them a guitar. If you meet a nerdy role player, give them a 20-sided dice. If you meet a poet, right, give them a poem. See what they think. It says, tell them 3/4 only. This is a tricky one, right? And talking to people, tell them 3/4 only. Never let them have the other part. Like, what in the world is he talking about? Well, I can't give you the other part. right? Because the other part can't be expressed in words. I can tell you 3/4, right? I can say, okay, like no mind, like no fixed mind, like be exactly who you are, accept what comes up, notice it, let it go. But I can't do it for you. And I can't, that doesn't reach it. And I can't tell you what it is. You have to experience it. Right? Zen Buddhism is called the mind-to-mind transmission of the Buddha's Dharma outside of the scriptures, meaning we can't write it down. You can't give the other part. But you can live it, you can experience it. And we want desperately for there, at least I did, for just years on years on years. I wanted desperately for there to be like this answer. Like, you know, and I did different spiritual things and I worked with different spiritual teachers. I always make the joke that like, you know, nobody gets on any of these cushions because everything went well, right? We all end up on these cushions because we have questions about the nature of ourselves and the nature of reality, and we want to understand it. And those questions typically arise because we've suffered. And so, you know, you go work with a teacher and you think, oh my God, they're going to give me the thing. They're going to give me the, here it comes. Maybe this talk, he'll give me the secret key, right? But the secret key is that there is no key. You already have it. Sit there, be with it, be with the hardware that came, or the software that came pre-installed, right? You're a nervous system walking around in a meat spacesuit, flying around on a planet that's sailing through space at millions of miles an hour. You already have the hardware you need, and you already have the software too. Working skillfully with what is, allowing it to be. Trusting yourself. No mind. No fixed way that you're supposed to be. No Buddha, no particular spiritual genius that we need to follow. Just working with what is. That's what we're up to here. Thank you.